I guess, just entering week one with the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, so one, I'm just like, thank God the preseason is over. I consider myself a pretty big fan, but even I can admit that preseason week 4 is a rough watch. I'm pretty excited to finally see, as you kind of pointed out, the Browns being the sexiest team, seeing if there's any validity to that. As somebody who's suffered through 20-plus years of 4-12s, I'm certainly hoping that the national pundits are correct.
Yeah, it's a big change of pace for the Browns. Let's start with what to look for when the Browns are on offense in this game. Obviously, the huge move in the offseason, the Browns traded for Odell Beckham, and this is going to be the first time to watch him and Baker Mayfield together. What do you look for on offense just in this game as basically their first new look with the Browns?
So they've been kind of shuffling around the offensive line. I think we have two mediocre tackles in Greg Robinson and Harrison out there on the outside. Our interior of the line, I think our center and left guard are very solid, but our right guard's been a huge question mark. We were hoping to have the first pick in the second round of last year's draft, Austin Corbett, kind of take a hold of that job, and he's nowhere near the starting right guard in there. He's pretty much delegated to backup center now, and so we've traded for 2 guards from the Packers, and to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about. So it'll be interesting to see if any one of them can kind of come in and help solidify, because their offensive line didn't look that great in the preseason. And going against Cameron Wake and Casey from the Titans, I think can give them a lot of problems. And so that'll be really interesting to kind of watch how our offensive line holds up and keeps our franchise quarterback on his feet. And then on the wide receiver front, we haven't seen Baker and Odell Beckham Jr. play a single snap in preseason together. So I'm very curious to see if they were able to develop a relationship and if they can get off to a hot start. I think the matchup between who do you think is going to go against Beckham? Will it be Logan Ryan, or do you think it'll be Malcolm Butler?
Logan Ryan's usually going to stay in the slot, so I'm guessing he's going to stay on Jarvis Landry, and then I think it'll rotate between Malcolm Butler and Adoree Jackson to see who's going to be guarding Odell, and I'm sure they'll get some safety help also.
I think those cornerbacks are okay, but I don't think they're quite, they're not Patrick Peterson and his prime back there. So I think that'll be really interesting to kind of see how that goes. I mean, I would imagine, to your point, a lot of double coverage. And, I think the Browns in the preseason kind of looked up and down. We looked pretty sluggish and out of sync against Tampa Bay, which is the last time we saw them play live football. All of Cleveland will be holding the breath the first snap and hoping that Odell Beckham goes over the top for 60 yards or something. So that's really what I'm kind of hoping for. I think there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of uncertainty, but a ton of potential. And knowing that the Titans have a pretty good defense, I think it'll be a pretty good measuring stick.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting matchup because obviously the Browns' skill positions are all extremely good, extremely dangerous. I think we match up okay just because our secondary is probably our deepest and strongest position. As you mentioned, none of them might be the top 5 corners in the league, but pretty much all 5, our 3 corners and our 2 safeties, Byard and Vaccaro, we don't really have a weakness out of those 5, so they're all pretty solid. I think most teams your passing game is going to dominate against. I think this will be a good measuring stick for both of us because, you might be one of the best passing offenses we're going to play in the near future, especially now that Andrew Luck's not here. So it'll be interesting to watch how these corners match up with your receivers. Yeah, with the offensive line, it'll be interesting because our defensive line didn't play together in the preseason at all. Casey didn't play, Harold Landry didn't play, and Cameron Wake just had a few snaps. So we haven't even seen our defensive line. I think it's actually going to be a lot of what you were describing with the Browns, where there's a lot of offensive line question marks, and it's mostly because Taylor Lewan suspended the first 4 games. And so something that would normally be the strength of our team is now a big question mark. And I think against an average defense, I wouldn't be too worried. But with the Browns front and especially Myles Garrett coming, well, we don't even really have a right guard. So our right guard is probably one of the worst in the league right now. And our left tackle is our backup right now. The rest of our line is fine, but we have those 2 big spots. And I think there is some potential that things could get ugly. I think we're going to have to game plan around that. We didn't get Odell or anything, but we did make a few big additions in the passing game. So we got Adam Humphries as a slot receiver. We drafted A.J. Brown in the 2nd round, and we get Delanie Walker back, who was out all last season. So it's a bunch more like weapons across the middle, and that we really did not have at all last season. So I'm hoping that will make a big difference. But I think a lot of it also is going to come down to which Derrick Henry we see, if it's the second half Derrick Henry from last season or if it's the first half. Because especially if our line is struggling to pass block, then we're really going to need Henry to get going to kind of slow down your pass.
Well, what's the paparazzi report or the body report on Travis Henry? I know he's had some weight issues coming in. Has there been any any reports in terms of how he's looked physically in camp? Like, is he carrying, has he got a six pack, or has he got, is he working that dad bod?
Yeah, I think he's fine. He had some minor injury, I think, early on that I don't even know if they ever disclosed what it was. So he didn't play at all in the preseason, but I don't think we were going to play him in the preseason anyways. But they're all saying that he's fine and ready to go for week 1. So it's a good question, but I haven't actually seen him in uniform yet. Okay. I expect that he's fine. I don't think we were ever going to play him in the preseason because we are going to plan to use him as such like a workhorse role. I don't think top running backs really play in the preseason much anymore. I'm just worried about kind of the blocking and everything. But honestly, it's kind of similar when we played last year in week 2, we played the Texans when we were missing our top 3 offensive tackles, and we ran some wildcat plays with Henry. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have some kind of trickery going on just because of the Lewan suspension and because of how good your front seven is.
Just do anything to keep like Myles Garrett from teeing off on Marcus Mariota, I guess. Just kind of got him thinking a little bit, huh?
Yeah, I think we have to, because like we had to sit Mariota out of the third preseason game because we couldn't block the Steelers, which is really terrible. But
I mean, they have a great D line though, speaking from experience.
That's true. But I think the Browns do also. So I think that's just our biggest concern right now, which sucks because like that's usually like last year, our offensive line would have been the strength and the skill positions would have been the concern. And this year, like I'm excited about the skill positions, but I won't really get to see it if we can't block. How does the Browns like secondary and linebackers look? Because I think we're gonna be focusing a lot on like Delaney Walker and Adam Humphries over the middle and just kind of like things.
Yeah, kind of to your point, I think our defensive line is going to be extremely disruptive. I'm curious to see them in run defense because there wasn't a whole lot of running, especially against like top tier O-line and running backs in the preseason. But against the pass, like Myles Garrett, Ogunjobi, Sheldon Richardson, and Vernon were like teeing off. And then we also have this backup D-tackle by the name of Devereaux Lawrence. I think he had, like 20 sacks or something it seemed like in the preseason. He was getting like 2 a game, and he was extremely disruptive, and he's a problem. And so I think, like, especially up the middle, we're going to be very strong. But our rush defense, I think, is still something to be seen. I think our secondary, outside of Denzel Ward, is pretty suspect. We have the immortal Morgan Burnett back there is playing strong safety. Demarius Randall is playing our free safety, who's a solid player. Terrence Mitchell is like a solid cornerback playing opposite of Denzel Ward, but he's kind of like one of those people that's going to keep it in front of him, not give up a big play, but, might be dinked and dimed nickel and dimed, up and down the field. And then our linebackers, we have Christian Kirksey, who's coming off, a couple of injury-riddled years, and last year did not play well. All accounts this year said he's kind of back up to where he was back in like 2015 when he signed that big deal. But I mean, to me, I think he's clearly lost a step and will kind of be like an early down back. And then our rookies, either Mac Wilson or Sione Takitaki, will be kind of coming in. Mac Wilson has had an up and down preseason. He had like his first game or the first preseason game, he was incredible. And then the other 3 kind of came back down to earth and, started playing like a rookie, which is what you'd expect. So that pretty much only leaves like Joe Schobert as our consistent middle of the defense player who is great in coverage, not necessarily the best in run defense. Outside of Denzel Ward, I think our secondary has a lot of question marks and can be picked apart. I just am wondering about the Titans and if they have the horses back there at, like Corey Davis, I think we're still kind of waiting for him to kind of break out. And then Sharp, I think is also kind of a question mark. So kind of to your point, I think Delaney Walker will be the one doing a lot of damage here. And it'll be interesting to see, as I pointed out, how our run defense is. Because with Deion Lewis, he's on your team, right?
Yeah, he's still there.
Yeah, so between him, Henry, and Delaney Walker, I'd expect all of them to be doing most of the damage on this on your team. But just in the preseason, the Browns look pretty good. But like I said, I think there's a lot of question marks outside of pass rush and D-line.
I think on the other side of the ball with like the Browns receivers against the Titans secondary, it's kind of strength versus strength. And on this side of the ball, it sounds like it's a lot more uncertainty, because even like three of our four receivers with like Delaney, Humphreys, and AJ Brown were not here or didn't play last year. So like and they didn't play much together in the preseason either. So I don't even really know what to expect. Do you have a prediction for this game or a key matchup or anything to watch?
Yeah, so this game, I guess I would say, like, this game is in Cleveland, and I think that's going to be one of the tilting factors, if you will. I think if this game was in Tennessee, it would be very likely, I would probably predict an upset, or I don't even know what the line is, but I would expect the Tennessee to come out victorious. But I just think that home crowd is going to hopefully fuel this energy. I'm really hoping that our offense can kind of, like, hit their potential. So, I mean, I'm predicting a Browns win. Only the second time in the last 20-something years that we've won on our opening. I think 2004 is the last time we won our first game of the year, which is just incredible if you think about it. But and in terms of like X factor, I think it'll. I'm really hoping to see like Odell Beckham Jr. It's really hard not to continue to focus on him. And then Myles Garrett against like your backup left tackle. Like I don't know. Like I would imagine you're going to have to have a tight end and a running back face his way the entire game because he's just such a problem. I would guess those are going to be my two X factors.
Yeah, and those are absolutely my two biggest concerns. Definitely with. I was a lot more confident before the one suspension, and I think our defense was good last year. We did let up the occasional like 60-yard touchdown or something, so I would not be surprised if Odell gets one of those. Like we're usually good in like the mid-range game, but every once in a while would let up a deep. Malcolm Butler would let up some deep passes sometimes, so I'm definitely about that. I think it's going to be a tight game. I'm hoping that we can kind of ugly it up and make it like maybe in the low 20s or the teens or something. And this might just be the week one optimism, but I think the Titans can squeak out like a 24-21 win or something. I do get worried that I think it could get ugly if Myles Garrett really does just dominate and then our whole offense is going to collapse. But I think it'll be a close game, and I think it'll be an exciting game. I'm pretty sure they have like CBS's top crew like Tony Romo on it, and I'm excited. It should be a good one. I think the Browns definitely have a bright future. Like I have them winning their division this year, but if there's any week to play them, I'm glad we're playing them in week one before they can kind of put it all together, hopefully. But it should be a good one.
Yeah, I'll just say if it's a close game, history will not be kind to the Browns. Considering last year, I think we lost 3 games by 3 points or less. And this year we have 2 rookies on special teams in terms of our punter and our kicker. And Austin Siebert is our kicker, who's a 5th-round pick out of Oklahoma, and watching him does not give me confidence. So I'll just say that if it is a close, muddied up game, I would say I would not be super optimistic for the Browns in that regard. If we have to rely on our kicker, I'll be holding my breath.
All right. Well, now I found our main advantage. I'll take our kicker and our punter because I'm very happy with both of those. So if that's what it comes down to, I'll be happy. Good luck this week.
Likewise. Hopefully no injuries.
Yes.
And the next Superfan battle is between me, your Kansas City Chiefs superfan, Nick, and our Jacksonville Jaguars superfan, Ryan. How's it going, Ryan?
You know, it's going so great because it's the start of a new year. What could be better?
Indeed. This has been a long time coming. The NFL offseason is far too long. And I understand, though, I mean, unlike most Jacksonville fans, you are probably dry and away from the destruction. How is it going where you are?
Yeah, well, where I am is over 100 degrees and probably clear skies, I believe so. And Jags actually had to change their practice plans this week because of Hurricane Dorian. So hopefully everybody's safe. Everybody, all people, not just Jaguars fans, of course.
Indeed, yeah. I mean, it's really a shame. It sounds like some of the players and families and staff and things like that were under mandatory evacuations and stuff, and it's just really a rocky and a rough way to start the season. But hopefully the game's still going to be good. And honestly, I actually think this is a bit of an underrated matchup on the opening slate. I think a lot of people sort of, if they saw the final score of the game between these two teams last year, they thought, okay, well, the Chiefs just rolled over the Jaguars. Whereas really, it was a tight game last